Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier, and in this presentation I begin to look at the American War in Vietnam. 5 American presidents were involved in Vietnam. 4 of them were involved in dragging America into a war. Harry Truman, president from 1945 to 53, though not shown on this slide. Dwight Eisenhower, president from 1953 to 61. John F. Kennedy, president from 1961 to 63. And Lyndon B. Johnson, president from 1963 to 69. And the one that got them out of Vietnam, Richard Nixon, president from 1969 to 74. So, why did America get involved in Vietnam? Here I'll begin to look at the long-term factors. It is a case of increasing American involvement, hence the drip-drip or quagmire theses, which I'll explain either in another presentation or else maybe on my website. We'll see. Of course, the Americans were already involved in Vietnam, or Indochina as it was then, helping the Viet Minh fight the Japanese. But it was America's eventual support of the French after World War II where this particular story begins. And from start to finish, the overriding factor was the same: ideology. Stop the spread of communism in Southeast Asia. Events beyond Vietnam drove the Americans to back the French. In 1949, Mao led the Chinese Communist Party to victory in the Chinese Civil War. In the same year, the Soviet Union became a nuclear power. Meanwhile, in Burma and Malaya, Myanmar and Malaysia respectively, communists were fighting to gain control from the British. Then, in Korea, Kim Il-sung invaded South Korea, and America, in the guise of the United Nations, was at war with a communist regime. In February 1950, America formally recognized Bao Dai's government. Bao Dai was the last emperor of northern and central Vietnam, who had cooperated with the French before the Japanese invasion, and then cooperated with the Japanese. In 1951, America started giving aid to French forces, the Viet Minh benefiting from Chinese aid and training. Ho Chi Minh's Viet Minh was seen as part of a wider communist effort to control the whole region. The PRC and the Soviet Union recognized the Viet Minh's struggle and offered their support in the form of training and arms. It was at this point that some American officials applied the term domino theory to the Vietnamese problem. American support for the French began with $23 million in 1949, and the next year they sent equipment and a small number of advisors. But it rapidly increased to $336 million. When Eisenhower was elected president in 1952, America was paying for 30% of the French war effort. 2 years later, they were paying 80%. After the Geneva Accords of 1954 that ended the French War, America moved to replace France as the dominant influence in Indochina. Both President Eisenhower and the future president, but then Senator Kennedy, were of the opinion that war in Vietnam couldn't be won, though President Eisenhower did raise his concern that the dominoes would fall, and so America, not a signatory to those Geneva Accords, moved to bypass them and to make the temporary division of the country permanent. America also set up the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization, SEATO, combining European as well as Asian allies, though not Vietnam, to counter communist influence in the region. And for Vietnam specifically, set up their own Military Assistance Advisory Group, MARG. In December 1960, in a significant move, communists joined with other disaffected groups to form the National Liberation Front, the NLF, to coordinate opposition to Diem in the south. The NLF was dominated by communists and was directed from Hanoi, now committed to armed struggle as the means to unify the country. But it emphasized national independence over social revolution. Its implementation of land reform in the areas it controlled were popular, and whilst fear drove some peasants into its ranks, most joined voluntarily. In early 1961, it formed a military wing, the People's Liberation Armed Forces, the PLAF. And I'm going to leave it there, even though we haven't finished with the long-term factors. I'll deal with the Kennedy administration in a separate presentation, or else this will be too long. As I've said in other presentations, I can send my detailed notes if you would like me to, and you will not be pestered by me. I promise you that. And don't forget, I may have a tutorial slot available if you think you might benefit from that. Just get your parents to get in touch with me at historymadeeasier@gmail.com, and we'll see if we can sort something out. Prices can be negotiated according to what your parents can afford. I'm not in this to make a killing, I assure you. But I will need to have a slot available, of course. But anyway, let me thank you for listening and wish you the very best of luck with your studies. Cheers.